lockdown, so I decided to start a new podcast. This is our first podcast with multiple people, so you guys are like breaking new ground here. And essentially, I'm almost midnight in South Africa. You guys are various stages of the morning in California and Hawaii. Of course, we're all South Africans. We're all in surfing, and just chatting about the lockdown, how it's affecting people, and then a couple of questions from the fans who've posted them all day. First of all, Jordy, life in Hawaii.
Sorry, I was going to say, I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out.
No worries, bro. I figured. We're good.
So, I'm glad we've all stopped alive. So Jordy and Wak, first of all, I mean, you guys, I mean, you're in lockdown over there, but it's not looking like life is too bad on the North Shore, especially with the round of swell you've been having.
Well, yeah. Well, Jordy's here. He's here on the North Shore. I'm like an hour away, but it seems like I was actually talking to my chick earlier about it. It seems like it's pretty much normal. I wouldn't be changing anything different. He's surfing all day.
Yeah, they're not on a proper lockdown over there.
Yeah.
They're just not allowed to sit on the beach. You just have to keep moving, right? That's like
I think they lifted that ban. They did close that ban, so you actually couldn't even be on the beach anymore. You could only surf, and then they've lifted again. Now I think people can go back and walk and carry on.
I think different areas of Oahu, they've had like, it's been more strict. Definitely in town, when it first hit, it was like nobody was even basically allowed to go anywhere. And then it kind of eased up a bit, especially on the North Shore. Like 2 weeks ago, they were fining people left and right if you were on the beach. And then in the last week, it seemed to have kind of died down. And yeah, now there was cops like 4 or 5 times a day patrolling the beach on quad bikes. But now I haven't seen them in the last week, so.
There's a sick background tune going on.
What is that?
Someone set off a fire alarm. They're like, these guys are not social distancing.
No, I don't know if it's in this house. No, it's not in this house.
Maybe car.
Let's throw out an accusation off the bat. I love it.
All right, so we've got obviously a couple of World Tour surfers. We've got Wak, who tried very hard out there on the QS for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys want me in here. I'm not even a surfer anymore.
Well, you are.
Did you not get the memo, YT, bro?
I did not.
Yeah, you totally missed that one.
You guys completely screwed me on that one. You shafted me. But I'm wearing some SA event power, so it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the events, I mean, obviously we were looking at a great year. You know, you came off a couple of really good results last year, George, and you were in the hunt for the world title. This year was looking like a really good one, like a venue like G-Land sort of added, and you've been killing it on the backhand. Travis was probably kind of sad that he's left the tour, and Wak probably wanted a wild card. I mean, how's it been going from looking at this killer start to the year? The waves were looking so good for the first event, and then just over.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it would have been insane to get it going. But yeah, I don't know. Things just drastically took a change. Would have been cool to go to G-Land. But yeah, I'm sure I'll get to go there at some stage, just not right now. And then, yeah, Snapper was like, I think if the event had run over that window, it looks like, can't turn anything off.
You know what I actually think it is? I think it is because you two are on the same video chat and you're like less than a meter apart.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'll go sit outside then. I'll go sit outside.
Okay. Yeah, no, but the way it's insane, George, Snapper over that window.
This is
it was very awkward.
George, have you never been to G-Land?
Oh, there's like 4 people at once.
No, I've never been there, bro.
I
mean, my first time to Bali was with you when we stayed at Dustin Humphrey's.
Yeah, they're like all talking.
That was my first time too.
So it's like,
yeah.
Sit over there.
Warwick is just having a chat on the way. But Walk, why don't you keep us on, but go to Foodland, grab us some chow.
He's about to get on the deck and have a ciggy.
I just finished my ciggy. I'm gonna have a ciggy during the speech, and then I'll turn around so you guys can see the waves.
Oh, thank you. So, Jordy, I mean, obviously, and Travis, I mean, I think we're already so deep into the year. We've missed a lot of events. I mean, the South African leg is pretty much not going to happen. I don't think we're too close to those events now. And if you look at big events like X Games in the same date range, have all just announced that they're going to shut down. Do you think maybe safe to say that we're looking at a no CT this year and back on for a start early next year?
Is that a question for me?
Well, I think Jordy as well, and just thoughts. I mean, not so much. I mean, obviously there is no call yet, but I mean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I was telling you before, like the news changes all the time. There's contradicting science every single day. And you know, we are hard at work rejigging things as each week goes past, and we get to a point where we can't run certain events. So yeah, there's been a lot of work going on in the back end while this is all going on, and it's just a wait and see scenario. I really do hope we manage to get some stuff done this year, but yeah, nothing's a guarantee, and we just have to wait and see. Unfortunately, I think the rest of the world's in the same sort of conundrum.
George, how are you sort of taking on sort of the scenario right now? I mean, obviously you're lucky in that you're in a place where there's good waves and there's been great swell. I mean, is the game plan just stay fit, surf as much as possible, and when the green light goes, it goes?
Definitely. For me, my kind of duty, I think, my headspace is just to try and even prepare, just prepare for as if it is going to run. And the same way you do it, you know, before you're paddling out for a heat, if they're going to call it off or not, you still got to continue to prepare like you were going to surf. So, yeah, fortunately for me, I know for a lot of other countries and stuff, they haven't been able to surf. So that will definitely play into people's, you know, how they've been trying to stay sharp and things like that for when if it does kick off. My personal feeling is yeah, probably it won't kick off before, I don't know, maybe Tahiti. That's just kind of my thoughts on it. But like Trev said, things do change really quick. As fast as it's escalated up, it could also go the other way. And kind of, do I feel comfortable to like travel from destination to destination? Probably not. But if they could like house us in some sort of location and then bang out events, that would probably be my best. And I'd feel that way.
Why? Because there's not a good
got
time
the
to be
for sure.
puffing.
Hello, that's right. What do you ask me my opinion? It doesn't really bother me. What they do. No. I think Jordy's probably in the best spot possible right now. He's like, obviously he gets to surf every day. He's been putting the work and the time in at Pop, as you can see. Like he's probably like the main standout there. So it's good for him. He's obviously looking confident and he's shooting and filming every day. And so I think it would be great if they could somehow get events, and I think he'd have a really good head start. That's obviously me being biased for him, but yeah, it would be sick. But obviously, who knows with this thing? I'm stuck here in Hawaii. I don't really pay too much attention to what's going on outside of it. Travis obviously has to, because he's running events all around the world. So I don't know with safety. I sit glued to something like CNN, and I feel like all that news is such bullshit. But yeah, obviously it's you got to be more safe than, because something bad could happen from it, and maybe they take half the year off, maybe they take the year off. I don't know. I just think if they do tend to start anytime this year, I think Jordy will have he'll have a head start, if anything.
Oh, it's a good point, because I mean, at least you're in the water. I mean, anyone who's stuck back here, I mean, as I know too well, I mean, it's been 4 weeks of no surf time. I mean, it's to really like push the nail in for us back home in South Africa has been the fact that we had the worst summer in years, and literally the day before we kicked off lockdown, it's just been pumping. J-Bay has been just like absolutely epic. It's been firing up and down the coast, and we all stuck at home kind of not being able to surf. So I think the call to be in Hawaii would have definitely been a really, really good call.
Just a question, what does stage 4 entail? Have they determined whether you're actually allowed to go to the beach or surf or?
No, they haven't done anything yet with stage 4. No, not for. Isn't stage 4 like just certain jobs can go to work? There's obviously a curfew after a certain time at night. You have to be back.
The curfew is all the way down to level 2, which is I think 8 p.m. till 5 a.m. Level 4 is like a few things allowed. They're busy debating on exercise. So whether to like be like San Diego and Oz and allow jogging, cycling, and sort of alone time exercise, whether or not surfing will even fit into that classification, who knows? I think their biggest fear right here in South Africa right now is that, you know, maybe surfers will respect the social distancing thing when they go surfing just to get in the water, but if they start getting large numbers hanging out at the beaches, it becomes a problem again. So I think it's obviously in South Africa, we always have these sort of unique scenarios, and we've got to think of the greater populace, not just like that small little focused group of surfers, because we are actually in reality a really small number in South Africa.
What's going on in LA with surfing, Travis? I thought they opened up a few spots.
A few spots are opening up tomorrow. I mean, Orange County's been open the whole time. Just San Clemente was closed, and LA was closed. I think San Diego was closed as well. But you could go up north like Ventura, Santa Barbara way and surf. And then I've just been surfing down in Orange County every day. But
as a surfer, it's pretty much that's what you like strive for, to find waves alone.
Yeah, no, good
social
point.
Distancing is kind of like your goal.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely got more chance of contracting something at the supermarket than you do going surfing, unless you're sitting at the peak at Lowers, maybe. Then everyone's on top of you trying to chew your ear off. But for the most part, yeah, whatever. I'm stoked to be able to surf.
It's an interesting one, because now if we go to sort of level 4, level 3, and you're allowed to surf as allowed by government, but you're not allowed to move provincially. I saw Trevor Hansen, one of the J-Bay legends out there. He was like, hey, we might actually score some J-Bay, just the locals, for like a month or two, no travelers. And I mean, for some areas like that would normally see the big crowds on swells, it could actually be quite a cool thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So, even when it's crowded, I'm sure they're still getting their waves.
I heard the guys are surfing on the coast in Durban. Probably shouldn't have said that.
Just dropped a few. I was like, well,
yes. I want to keep a secret.
Yeah,
I want to see their names, but those are,
yeah. Fuck them.
Yeah, they are. Suncoast.
So now let's get to talking about you three. So 3 South African kids, all from Durban, grew up surfing against each other, being mates, did the QS run. All 3 of you now sitting overseas. I mean, Wok, obviously for slightly different reasons, but you're there, you're surfing again in Hawaii. Jordy, you're going for world title. Travs ended up being the tour manager, essentially. I think a lot of people, especially if they don't grow up in South Africa on a currency like ours, really understand what it takes to get where you 3 are sitting right now. It takes a lot. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of money. And, you know, a lot of Groms back home in South Africa are thinking like, geez, I want to be where you 3 are. Like, how do you get there? Like, what does it take? And I mean, maybe George can kick off and we'll go George, Wok, Travis.
Well, geez, I don't think you can just pinpoint it down into a couple sentences, you know. I think each of us have done what we've needed to do to be able to get into the positions that we are in different and unique ways. For me, I was just led pretty much by my dad, kind of from a young age, pushing me into trying to surf the best I could and then make the most out of the opportunities that I had. And then I was just fortunate enough to have like the sponsorships and the support that I needed to be able to get the places that I wanted to go. And then obviously South Africa's been an incredible proving ground for all of us and for many that have become before us. But I think it's just been, I was lucky enough even just to have like Wok and Trav, obviously doing the QS and stuff earlier days with Wok and that, people to be able to look up to. And then once I got to the big leagues, to have Trav and stuff as a mentor was massive. And yeah, just to have good role models, I think that was kind of to know your rights and wrongs, and yeah, just believe in the process. I think that's kind of been it.
Wok's just
Like
chilling
me.
back.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of hard work to get here. A lot of hard work. A lot of hard work. Impregnate a woman from the US. Just, yeah, I've just landed my ass in the butter. No, it's
So proud of you. So proud of you.
Thanks, Chet. Thanks, boys. Yeah, no, to be honest, I never, like, I've been a Durban boy my whole life, so I never really wanted to leave. I've always loved America. Like, I hadn't been back to Hawaii since the last QS, and pretty much the last time I was here, I probably left a bad taste in my mouth. I just didn't really like the North Shore. Just like always bad vibes, but it's changed so much. So to be back here and to be able to surf a lot, and when I do come, I go spend a few days with Travis, and then he comes over here, then we hang. I've been spending a lot of time with Jordy, so it's always cool to have like my friends around. And yeah, like I don't know what my plan is from here. We're gonna be here till the birth of our child, and I'd say by the end of the year we'll probably go home for like a year or so, and then we'll move. If we're ever gonna move anywhere, it's gonna be back to Hawaii. I'd say, like where Alicia, my wife, is from. It's amazing. It's a really good area. It's good to have a family. It's good for kids. So yeah, I'm happy if I can work here and make some dollars. I'd be stoked. And then the best thing about it is I can get to see my best friends I grew up with. Travis is 5-hour flight away, which is I'm gonna go see him on my way home. Jordy's here a lot. So yeah, it's sick. Yeah, I'm stoked.
Trav?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really bought too much into that whole we're hard done by in South Africa with the currency and all that. Yes, it is tough, but there's opportunity, and there's been guys that have gone and proven that you can do it on way less talent than a lot of guys that haven't made it. I guess maybe I get a bit jaded by that whole thing because I've seen so many guys with talent come out of South Africa and other countries where they kind of live off that excuse, and they get the opportunity to finally go on the QS, and they spend it just partying, raging, eating junk food. Like, I guess for Jordy and I, when we got on the QS, we took it really serious. We were trying to win every single contest. There wasn't like it was non-negotiable. It was like, so what? We're traveling on rands, and there's other kids in the US getting paid $200K, and they're 13 years old, and they surf half as good as us. But we didn't use those things as excuses the whole time. I see it sometimes with South Africans. Obviously, I'm not negating the fact that it is super expensive and a risk to follow your dreams, but a lot of the times these surfers don't take the opportunities, and it's some of them behave like that and they get some success, but it's just not sustainable over a whole year. The QS is like a marathon, and you just have to keep going and sustaining your pace and your intensity. But if you have this, like, if you're not focused and you're just trying to jaw and carry on, you end up burning out somewhere along the line. And like for Wok, who had mad talent coming on tour, I think he won't mind me saying that he wasn't one of those kids who went on there and it was just like all or nothing. I have to win events to get on the CT. He was like, he just didn't have that like that one track mind that we kind of had. But I bet he had a lot more fun. I bet he had a lot more fun on the tour than we did, and he managed to have some mad success. I'll never forget when he won in Fernando de Noronha. That was probably, that year was the year I qualified. We traveled together, and that was probably the most focused I've ever been in my life, because I was like, in my last year of my contract with my sponsors, I was like, I'm qualifying this year or I'm done. And I went into that year, I'd come off like 2 months of training, visualizing like 10 times a day, doing yoga, eating healthy, Warwick smoking ciggies in between heats, drinking every night. He knocks me out in the semis at Fernando de Noronha and then wins the event. And I was just sitting there, obviously the happiest ever. Like my best mate just won a huge QS. But it actually just got me even more amped for the rest of the year, and we traveled together. I ended up qualifying that year. It was so fun, but it just shows the different approaches you can have. Like, that's what I love about Wok's whole thing. When he looks back at his career, he doesn't have this gripe and all these excuses. He's like, it is what it is, and he probably could have put in more work and done better. Well, he definitely could have put in more work, and he would have done better. But I don't think he would change that. And I think a lot of South Africans just they live on that excuse a little bit too much.
Yeah, I agree. I think if anything, that mindset of thinking that we're really up against it with the currency thing, when people think like that, I think that should motivate you more, because your 100%. Money should make you feel like I've really got to make this money count. Well, and it's not just going to be like another, $5,000 US. It's like a lot of South African rand.
There's really no excuse. Like if you look at all the Brazilian kids coming up, they're coming out of the same boat.
Yeah. If not worse, most likely worse.
Most likely worse most of the time, and they pull it off time and time again. So in the end, it's all up here. It's all how intense you are and how much you're willing to sacrifice to get to that end goal. And if you don't, you just have to be fine with it. Don't sit back and say all these things went against me and this and that. Like at the end of the day, you could probably go back, and if you'd put in a little bit more effort and stop focusing on the excuses, you probably would have got to where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic feedback for the lighties out there, because I think you guys are the guys who know the score, especially in recent times. We've chatted to people like Paul Canning and Greg Emsey. They were kind of that little generation just ahead of you guys, and I think the tour's changed a lot since then as well. And if you just look at the number of annual entries in the QS, numbers that you would know well, Trav, like you're not up against like a couple of hundred guys anymore. You're up against a couple of thousand guys to try and get 22 spots on a championship tour. It's not just going to come to you. And I mean, it's obviously great. We saw Manny McGillivray. He's busting into a rookie year this year. And we've got a couple of other young South Africans that have been doing pretty well out on the QS. And I'd say it's probably safe to say we've got our biggest sort of numbers of solid contingent again in quite a long time. It's been like a lot of positivity around South African surfing. And Jordy, I mean, you've been on the North Shore over the season, the Triple Crown. There was a lot of talk about the South African camp and some of these youngsters coming through the ranks.
They seem to always do pretty well in Hawaii. I think a lot of the waves, I mean, not maybe at Pop, but a lot of the other waves, Haleiwa and Sunset, are very similar to waves that right point, big open face right points, and a lot of South Africans grow up doing that. It's a different story when it comes to lefts, and especially hollow lefts. Speaking for myself, that's been like my Achilles heel. That's been like one of the things that I've had to work on most. But yeah, the South Africans, they seem to in the past done pretty well here. They've just got to take that same mentality throughout the rest of the year.
And Trav, I mean, being a goofy footer, you grew up pretty much, like destroying things on the backhand. I know Badger put up your SA Champs triumph at J-Bay the other day, back in the day, looking back. It must have been quite nice to actually get out of South Africa and go compete in some lefts.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely took a while for me to get confident competing in lefts. And that was more not even from like my own experience, just from people telling me that the whole time that I need to work on my forehand, even though they never really got to see me surf on my forehand. They're like, you just need to work on it. Even though like in Durban specifically and all around South Africa, 90, like almost 100% of the events you're surfing a right rip bowl or a right point break or something, which is fun. But yeah, when I got onto the CT, it was especially I'll never forget that my first that little leg of Tahiti cloud break and looking at the forecast, I was super nervous because I'd never really even surfed waves like that before. I'd done one trip to Indo where it was like 4 to 6 foot a couple days, but I knew I was going to be surfing like really solid left barrels. Cloud break, you have to do turns too, and being on the world stage, so I was super nervous, but I was lucky. I did pretty well on both, and then hold on, sorry, and then yeah, I always tried my best to work on my weaknesses, and I think unfortunately having such a strong backhand, it always kind of just shed a light on my forehand. So but yeah, as my career went on, and I think even now, I think now I surf better on my forehand than I do on my backhand. It's weird, but it's a work in progress, and I still like working on it to this day.
Well, and it's interesting because I mean, George, you said it was your Achilles heel, but if we look at the move to surfing pipeline on the regular, Chopu, you've had some fantastic results the last two, and we were just saying before Wak came into the conversation earlier, I mean, you must have been looking forward to G-Land on your current form on your backhand. I mean, you've been doing some donkey, you've done Chopu and those spots, and you've been hitting pipe a lot. So, I mean, G-Land probably would have been a pretty good card for you.
Yeah, I definitely would have loved the opportunity to surf there for sure. And when we say it's like our Achilles heel or it's our weaker point, we don't necessarily mean that it's like it's terrible and it's bad. You've just got to, people have to just remember that we're surfing against the very best fucking people in the world, you know, and you're surfing against them at their probably strong points, guys like John and, you know, Medina and these, and those are the types. So it's not bad. It's just, you've got to be able to compete with the very best in the world at that level, going that direction. So that's what I mean, you know, to be able to get a barrel and get blown out and stuff, that's all good and well, but you've really got to be able to like maximize what you're doing when you're surfing against the top guys, you know. So I think that's where a lot of people get kind of, they don't really understand, is like Trav said, Trav's backhand was so furious that it made anybody's forehand look bad, you know, whether it was his or not. But you know, so it's like my front side is obviously a strength, but to be able to compare the two, they're two completely different things, at least in my mind.
Wak, you used to like your backhand a lot.
Yeah, I don't like go left. I don't want to go left ever.
I'll never forget. We were at a QS in Newcastle.
Oh, I remember that one.
And it was the most pumping lefts, just roping down this like beach break, just roping lefts. It was as fun as I've ever seen Newcastle. And Wak paddles out and paddles. He sits on the point and only goes right the entire event, but smash toes. He was just doing two huge belters, and Oz was doing like 6 turns on these long legs, 6 to 8 turns on these long legs, and Warwick went right the entire event. He did really well.
I'll say you for closeouts. Yeah, I know, but that's what I was meaning earlier. Like, I think obviously Jordy knows that he needs to, for him to like put a whole year together like perfectly, he needs to put his time in, which he has been doing over the years. But like, fuck now. Over the last month, just since I've been here, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, from not even from the pictures I see or the video I see of him, like literally everyone, like all the people that I've made friends with here, like they're like, Jordy's like the #1 stanner. Like I don't really like, you get like Ko Rothman and, but like he gets his ways now. It takes long to, you know, just because he's on the CT doesn't mean he can just paddle out to pipe and just take whatever he wants. But he's he's out there every day. He's grinding every day out there, spending 6-7 hours in the water out there every day. He gets his waves, he gets his respect, and then you can see he gets his, he's getting the best waves. So he's definitely like probably the top 3 people in the water at Pop now, and that's what he needed.
Yeah, and you can see it in the results. Like,
yeah,
the
100%.
results at Pop and Chope's last couple of years, that hard work's paying off.
Well, it's definitely paying off. And I mean, George, if it's been an interesting year or two for you, because I mean, you've gone on quite a big health kick the last 2 years. You took a big break from drinking, and I understand that, doing a year off 2 years ago. And it's quite incredible to see the focus almost that you can get, and how your sort of perceptions of things change. And it was immediate to me anyway to see how your competitive surfing just started really accelerating at that point as well, because the results started coming. And I mean, you are literally back in the hunt. I mean, you were thick in the fight last year, and I think most people would be putting money on the fact that you're going to be up in the hunt this year when we get going.
Yeah, thanks. I think for me, just trying to, I mean, when you work on your surfing, like when I think at least trying to work on my surfing, if I'm working on my rights and stuff, the percentages are probably not going to get too much higher. Like I'm max probably got another 2 or 3%, which takes a lot of time and a lot of work. On the lefts and stuff, for me, it's probably like 30% gain, which I can get a lot better. And then like ticking off all those boxes, whether it's not drinking, fixing your diet, the training, everything like that, those percentages end up being a lot higher. So on an overall year, if you can make 20% better than what you were the year before, that's massive, and that hopefully is the difference between like last year getting those seconds to getting the wins, and then really just being a front runner in the title. I think if you look back at like the number of heats won before Pipe, I think it was like 25-26 or 25-27 heat wins or something weird like that, where the difference isn't really that big, with Gabrielle and Itala obviously making the final, it went to probably 8 or 10 heats difference, but before that moment, it's really only a couple heats difference. So yeah.
So the more you can do to mitigate all those little variables that could have even like a 0.5 to 5% difference, and then like Jordy said, you got to balance that to how much work it's going to take to mitigate it. Is it worth spending that time on? So it's such a good point, because you have to be very conscious of where you focus your energy and your time, and how much reward you're going to get out of that. But yeah, every percentage point counts, especially in surfing, where there's so much it's so variable. You're dealing with tides, winds, the ocean behaving weirdly. Like best laid plans just go out the window. So if you just want to mitigate all those little variables and put yourself in the best possible position to win those heats.
Now, just before I go to the questions from the fans, another podcast I got lined up at some point this week is I'll have 2 of the rookies, Jack Robber and Matt McGillivray, on the podcast. Any advice for the 2 going into their rookie year on the CT?
Nothing from me. I don't want to give any advice. I gotta beat them.
Nice.
Well, honestly spoken.
I'd say just obviously you gotta come on there with which I didn't my first year on tour. I came on there like kind of cocky, like I want to prove myself, because no one really knew who I was. I was just kind of like the South African kid. I was never in the magazines or anything. So I had a chip on my shoulder, but I wasn't there like I'm gonna win everything. I think Jordy came on with that. He's like, I'm gonna fucking win every single event. I don't give a shit. And then he started winning everything. So I'd say you have to have that mindset, because you start, if you say it enough, then you start believing it, and if you believe it, you'll put in the work to get there. Because if you don't really believe it, you're gonna start cutting corners. And then the other big part of it, which is what I let myself down and probably towards the back end of my career is to not let yourself get too down on the losses and focused on judges and things not going your way. No matter what, you just have to be like a wall. Like whatever hits you just has to bounce off and just maintain the intensity and the focus, and eventually it'll turn and that result will come, and that string of results will come to make things turn around. I definitely towards the back end I got super focused on I was so in my head about the judging and just having bad luck and not getting good waves, and which is a big reason why I decided to throw in the towel eventually in the end, because it didn't get fun anymore. But those are my two little bits of advice.
Solid advice. All right, so we'll go to some questions from the fans, and I remind you, gents, that these are literally the questions I got sent by people, and I will tell you who they're from. Gemma Hanafe on Instagram. After this pandemic, can Jordy please come visit and surf J-Bay?
Can I or will I?
I think maybe both.
Definitely both, yeah. I want to go surf J-Bay for sure. After everything gets kind of sorted out.
All right. Then Max Alkinton on Instagram. What happened to Walk's CT run? He has such a savage backhand.
My CT run. I was never in the CT.
What about your wild card in J-Bay?
No, yeah, I had a few wild cards at J-Bay.
He actually gave me my first wild card. By going left at J-Bay.
What did I hear? I remember that actually, yeah.
You went left at J-Bay the morning before or the afternoon before, and you jumped over the back and landed on a piece of reef
on a muscle bed. No, I landed on a muscle bed. Open. Yeah, I know. How's that for the irony? I don't go left. The one time I fucking go left is at J-Bay.
The O's on the QS still talk about Walk's backhand, bro.
No,
Thing of legends. Thing of legends.
Ask Tommy Witz. I always tell Tommy Witz. I always rip into him about that one. He did J-Bay. I fucking gave him. You'll never let that one go.
I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, good times.
All right. Another question from Dean Vincent for Walk. Who is the number one lady in Walk's life? His mom or his wife?
Oh, you can't ask that. I'm about to have three women in my life. My daughter, my wife, and my mother. I can't do that. Shut up, Dina. That's a stupid question.
Who gets the next tat, Walk?
Who gets the next? My daughter for sure.
All right. Well, here's Dean Vincent's second question. This one's is Travis's real name Trent?
No, that's my nickname. Depends who you ask, but it's in Durban. I go by Trent.
I've actually got a question for Trav.
Yeah.
Of your two brothers, who pushed you the most growing up?
That's a good one.
That's a good question, because both in a way, and I'll tell you why. Because growing up, like all I can remember from my early days as a kid, like, because my memory is pretty shocking from when I'm going back to like preschool and primary school and stuff, is traveling around the country watching Ryan winning swimming races. He was like a world-class swimmer. It was crazy. He's like swimming against these kids who were, when he was like 14, 15, who were already like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and he was like 5'5", and just smashing them. So I spent my whole childhood going around and watching this and seeing how much work he put in. He used to train for 8 hours almost every single day, which is weird for a 14, 15-year-old kid to have that kind of dedication.
Yeah.
And he's always been like, Dane and I both say, Ryan's always been like our moral compass. You know, he's super about what's wrong and what's right, being healthy. So he's had a profound effect on just not in and out the water for me. And he started, and like he was my hero growing up. So he started surfing. So then I started surfing. But then Dane, when we both started surfing, I still to this day say that Dane was way better than I was. Way better than I was. Like, if the judging had evolved faster, I think Dane would have ended up being on the CT. Like, in our generation coming up, Dane was the first kid doing airs. He was the one taking off on on waves doing 3 huge turns, whereas me, like Simon and Dave, were doing 8 little whippersnappers and foam climbing to the beach. And we were getting 3 8s in heat, whereas Dane would take off and do a huge carve like a straight air and a layback, and he'd get a 6.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy how much better he was than everybody. But it was just the wrong timing, and he just didn't have the mindset for competing. He would just, if he lost a heat, he would melt down for months. So it's probably actually a good thing he didn't end up being a pro surfer. He'd be a head case. But so I was always just trying to be as good as Dane at surfing, and then it's trying to be like my older brother, like try to be like the man he was. So they both had crazy profound effects on us, on myself.
All right. So Scotty Turnbull for Jordy, if G-Land was still running, how many times do you think Chris Gallagher would have shown you the tape of his 97 final?
Probably once. Yeah.
Did he make the final
the
there?
footage was too good back then.
Who was he in the final with?
Luke Egan.
Yeah, that was the Luke one.
Yeah. I forget the
Yeah,
Gallagher's
good
actually
work.
on that. Yeah.
Pumping that year, right?
Yeah, that was a good year.
Troy Wells asks, Swak, did you teach those ducks to walk just like him? It's uncanny.
Dude, how classic are my ducks? I fucking love those things. I swear to God, I started feeding those things like a week ago. It's taken me forever. Every time I used to go out to the back garden, they wouldn't come near me. I slowly got them to feed. Now they eat out of my hand. Now they follow me. They're like my kids. But my wife's mom's over there because they shit everywhere. So now we're gonna get rid of them.
I got a question actually for Wok, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it? Who do you think was like your biggest? Who was your biggest rivals, kind of growing up, in Durban, within your age group? I know there was a lot, whether it was like Matthew Kruger.
I had Matthew Kruger for
Krugs.
1 year was my rival, and then obviously Ricky. Ricky was I don't think I would have ever really gone on tour or did as good as I did in the events that I did well because of Ricky. Because Ricky was so much fucking better than I was. He was so ridiculously talented, and I hated it about him. But I always somehow had his number. I always somehow beat him because I just wanted to beat him that bad. It was like, I even remember when I did start the queue. So as long as I was like finishing ahead of Ricky in any event, it was a win for me. So that was like, I used to set these like marks, and then one day he just turned it on, and it was like he could not be beaten by like anyone. Like to me, Ricky's like, I think his talent's like right up there with Jordy's. He's like one of the world's best surfers, which is sad because it's a bit of a waste, And like I can look back at it now and go like, fuck, he was amazing. He was amazing. He really was. He really was. Like I don't know. It irritates me. Like I look at him, and even when I see footage of him today, I'm like, I irritate him. I'm like, fuck. You should have fucking.
If he had a different mindset or work ethic, he would have had an amazing career.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And then one even for in between you guys, you and Trav and Wok, having Michael there. Obviously, you guys all pretty much lived in the same building. I think at some stage, right?
Yeah, we did.
MB was another one. MB was ridiculously talented, eh?
And that was what I was going to say. I thought he was as the kind of generation before Ricky that was kind of into the whole tricks and the shorter boards.
Oh, my first day surfing ever, Michael did an air in front of me. He was like, I started surfing when I was 11, so Michael would have been what? He would have been like 7.
Michael's a year and a half older than Michael's a year and a half older than me, 2 years older than me. So what, he's like 2 years younger than you?
Yeah, so he would have been 9, and he did. I was paddling out for my very first surf ever. He did an air in front of me, and I was paddling for a while, couldn't get out to the back, and he turned around at me and goes, "I'm half your age, and you can't even get out here." Swear to God. That is my first interaction with Michael Varicus.
That is the best.
I actually walked. And the very next day, I met Warwick for the first time. And he came up to me. I was hanging on the Addington bank there, and I was eating wine gums. I had a little roll of wine gums, and this guy just strolls up to me. I've never met him before, and asks me for a wine gum. So I'm like, Sweet. Yeah, take a wine gum. He's like, cheers. Walks away. And then he walks back like 15 minutes later. He goes, you want to stay at my house tonight? We'll go surf in the morning. So I was like, hey,
That's how
I'll
we
go
all
ask my
met each
dad.
other.
What's that?
That's how we all met. That's
Yeah,
how we
I
all
was
met
like,
each
I'll go
other
ask
down
my
there.
dad.
Remember
And
Jordy
my
down
dad's
there?
like, sweet. Yeah, go stay with the sketchy in Eddington. So I stayed the night. And the next morning we went surfing. And the next day after the surf, Vox got a roll of wine gums. I told him, hey, how's a wine gum? He just,
Guys, I don't
I'm not
want
even
guys coming
kidding
me. I don't want people coming me between me and my sweets, bro. You know that. I think I got Dane. I think Dane stayed that night too. And I think my mother obviously bought us a whole bunch of junk food for the night. And I think he vomited all night because he's never eaten sweets for dinner.
Yeah, at the right household, your main course is a Swiss roll, and then for dessert, you have a donut and a ciggy, and you go back to
Oh, fuck it. That was funny. Yeah. We had Jordy. He used to stay with us. Jordy was like 3-4 years younger than me, so he always used to stay. But he was that young person to us. I was like that to Travis and him.
Exactly.
And
I used
obviously,
to go over there. We used to watch scary movies.
Yeah.
Basically,
We used to watch
in that
Exorcist
flat
and
lock
freak us the fuck out.
People would come fucking knocking on the doors. We would be trying to hit them with fucking fins and all sorts of shit.
Shit. Guys, the amount of eggs and shit we threw out of those buildings, my God, bro. Eggs. I one stage I was throwing fucking butternuts, bro. Whole ones, just like this.
Right. Well, we're definitely getting some info here that we haven't had on a podcast before.
Oh, so funny.
Couple more questions before we finish off, lads. Jordy, Dutchie says G-Land was on the schedule a few years before, blah, blah, blah. Says, have you been to G-Land and how does one prepare for a new venue?
No, I've never been there. I was going to go there a week early and post up there for a week before the event.
All right.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was going to do, pretty much.
Some time in the water, makes sense. And then Travis Dutchie says, you were such a good surfing career being a savvy competitor. Why could you never translate that into your PlayStation Tiger Woods game?
Well, you should see me now on my Call of Duty. Yeah, I don't know. I think those guys never really taught me how to play. They just liked watching me struggle on that thing. They didn't.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I will say Trav has been an avid gamer for a while because when I was living in Durban and he used to have the place, we used to go over there and I used to try and play soccer against him, and I don't have patience for those games.
Nah.
And Trav would just dominate me basically every time and be like, I'm like, okay, you want to go surf? No, one more game.
So the contest is not just in the water. Okay, let's go for our second last question. Warwick Heaney from Port Alfred. For WOC, what do you do for Crown these days? Do you still surf? Are you staying with Jordy in Hawaii? And is pipe really that heavy?
Jeez, that's a lot of questions. I'm an interior designer now, bro. I'm one of the best. I'm one of the big boys. I work. I haven't been paid by surfing for a very, very long time. Not since Billabong left me. Billabong dropped me. And no, I'm not staying at Jordy's. I come and spend the day here with him and go surf. But when he goes to surf pipe, that I don't go get involved there, bro. It's like 100 people out. I know I'm just going to be sitting on the shoulder and picking off scraps. So I've just been surfing Haleiwa, Rockies. He comes to surf by me sometimes. And yeah, so my wife, she lives on the east side of the island, a place called Kailua. Super beautiful. And yeah, we come through like 3-4 times a week to surf and cruise. Yep.
Doesn't sound like a bad life at all. So the boys all cruising over there, all doing well. Let's finish off with Colin Raymond Fitch, our esteemed WSL Africa boss. Travis, did you ever imagine you would be making decisions that affect the course of global surfing?
Yes, I did. Nah. No, but you know what? When I was on tour, like when I was on the CT for the best part of a decade, and I was a surfer surfers rep for most of that time. So I was just trying to do my part and represent the surfers when decisions were made, and made a lot of decisions that kind of went against my own good. Actually changed a rule that ended up knocking myself off tour. But so I've always been passionate about the sport and always wanted to see the best for surfing. It wasn't in my plans to end up being here and working for WSL. It just happened organically through my last year on tour. The CEO at the time actually offered me the job. He didn't know I was planning on retiring already. It was just like good timing, and it was a perfect transition. So but I definitely feel the weight of the responsibility and understand that it's impossible to make everybody happy when you're talking about such a global membership of thousands of people and hundreds of events. But you can rest assured that we work every day to do our best to make everything right for the surfers and the fans.
Well, I've definitely on Belito mornings been down for the look-see and seen you chewing your nails and kind of deliberating, because it is. I must feel like there's a whole lot of sort of pressure on your shoulders to make the right call, especially, I suppose, when you're at a spot that's not predominantly sort of like a perfect wave. It can change quite a lot over the day and the tides.
Yeah, making the call is such a tough thing. It's specifically tough for me because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I just hate letting people down, and I hate making bad calls. Like other people who do it and it's the right way to be, they kind of accept if they make a bad call, because the ocean just has a funny way of making you look like a fool. And you have people around you telling you it's definitely going to do this and this habit's going to be sick and blah blah blah, and then you go along with what they say, and then everything changes, and they're like, you hear them saying to someone else, "Oh, I told them this morning that they should." So it's tough. It's definitely, because it's not an exact science. You're pretty much looking at like a crystal ball and making educated guesses. But for the most part, I think we've done an okay job. And no matter what you do, though, the ocean just has a funny way of making you look like a fool, man. And as I'm doing more events and getting older, I'm being able to accept that a little bit more.
All right, and then Fitchy asks, Jordy, you have equaled Sean Thompson's record of 14 years on the championship tour in 2020. Sean has left a legacy in putting back into surfing what he has got out. What role do you see yourself in 20 years' time?
Hopefully out of this pandemic. I mean, for me, I just wanted to be able to inspire people. I think that's pretty much it, really, and give back as much knowledge once I've kicked out of it, at least on the competitive side. I can't see that happening for another 7 years. So, yeah, I think just to constantly be giving back to South African surfing as much as I can. And yeah, I mean, raising a family at that point, I'm guessing, and just getting to share my love for surfing with everybody else around the world.
Well, that's interesting, because we look at your sort of progression of just athletes. I mean, you've started Smith Surfboards now with the old man, and I mean, as a brand, the boards seem to really be gaining traction super fast. Seeing a lot of stuff happening here back in South Africa with the boards. And I mean, do you see yourself maybe getting into a couple more sort of aspects of the industry as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think surfing for all of us has just been the key. That's just kind of been the tool to pretty much just to try and become the best person you can, and to kind of go down as many avenues. There's still a lot for me to learn. And all types of other different businesses. And I think that's the exciting part, to be able to learn about not only just competing and the competitive side of things, but whether it's the brands, starting a brand, running a brand. And just the reason I've chose surfboards is obviously there's a lot of history there for me. And it's something that I'm passionate about, and I know a lot about. They aren't just, they're constantly evolving. They're not just like skateboard decks where you can kind of just plug and play. Each person's kind of experience of surfing is based upon what the shaper makes for him. So just to try and better people's experiences in the ocean and make sure it's all fun.
Well, I'll say thanks at this point because my two are going really good. So thanks a lot.
G-Force has been on fire.
The
And
force,
then,
I
hard
speak to
part.
the force. The force loves. I'm always speaking to the force on DMs. He's a killer.
We got to get G-Force on the next one of these. Then you
Fuck
hear
yes.
stories, bro.
Yeah.
we'll put it together. We'll put it together. And then lastly, Colin asked this question, but there were at least 4 or 5 other people asking this question. And knowing your mom, I know she'll have a chuckle at this. He says, at what age would you expect your own child to leave home?
Oh my God, I know. I hope she's nothing like me because I get full separation anxiety from my mother. But who knows, dude? I'm just trying to have this baby. We got 7 weeks.
When it comes, bro.
Yeah, dude, fuck it up. There's many hurdles I gotta get over. The scariest thing right now is to have her, make sure she's, hopefully she's everything goes well with that. The second thing is by the age of like 13, 14, it's gonna I'm gonna have like a heart attack. I'm gonna have to keep her cooped up in a house in Hawaii until she's like 50. Because I'm not bringing her back to South Africa or taking her to some crazy city with all the shit that I see with these young girls. Fuck that.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting one because we talk about your mom and you staying with her for so long. But I mean, Anne has been, a big influence in both Trav and Jordy's lives. I think for myself, working in competitive surfing in South Africa for years, as a contest director, as a friend, as a mentor, she's had such a big part of all of our lives in surfing in South Africa.
Yeah, she loves it. She's, still, I swindled. I quit fucking surfing, like professional surfing 12 years ago. And she still has so much love for it. She's pulled her way up now. She's on like the board of South African surfing. She contest directs a lot of events. She works with Travis, I guess, when during the QSs and stuff. So she's super like into it still. Even in the longboarding, that she's still got a huge passion for it. And yeah, it's like I'm stoked for it. She's happy with it. For me, I just went a total different path. But she loves, even when I go surfing, she comes down to the beach with me. She's like, she froths on me going for a surf, and she comes and watches. Like, she just really has loved it. So it's cool, yeah.
Well, I must admit, I'm gonna miss her showing me WhatsApp messages from you demanding food deliveries.
Oh God, it's funny.
Yeah, we need more of those videos.
Yeah, I can send you
this.
I'll send you the same. I'll send you the same videos. It'll just be from a different woman.
What are Anne's tanning stats like these days? How many hours is she putting in a day?
Well, I figured out. I spoke to my uncle. He reckons on that outside balcony that she has, she gets about an hour and a half of sun there. So she's got to dial it there from about 9 to 10:30. Then she's moving out. She'll go chase the sun somewhere else.
All right, James.
She's having a meltdown, boys.
Hey, Kat, I've got a question, Kat.
Cool.
Who you obviously a commentator, a lot of events, a lot of junior events and stuff like that. Who do you see with some really some promising talent, a bright future, kind of under probably I would say 13, under 14?
I've been.
Are they I obviously know of the 15, 16-year-olds, but just a little younger than that.
I would say, look, I've been staying in Cape St. Francis again for the last while, and the two Dice boys, Joel and Rory. I see them surf a lot, and they've got like a really good sort of power base of surfing. Little kid Nate there as well has been tearing it up, and then like a little surprise in Durban. Like that little kid is just killing it on the backhand. He's like a little mini Trav. He's absolutely destroying it.
How old is Surprise?
I think Surprise is about 14 now, 13, 14. So he's moving up into sort of the bigger age groups. He's quite a short little guy, but he's really got a little power game going on his backhand. It's pretty phenomenal. You got Luke Thompson out of Durban. I mean, it's hard not to talk about him. He's winning under 18s and under 20s, but I mean, he's still only 14. So it's pretty incredible to see a kid at his age winning through like 3 different age groups, and he's had some pretty solid results in some of the open events even. So he's certainly one to keep an eye on. And then little Connor Slappen out of Cape Town, Jake the Snakes kid out of Cormacky, he's definitely a little ripper as well. Levi. So there's quite a couple, and it's quite nice to see the level at like under 12 at SA Junior Champs last year. The under 12 finals, like semis finals, were like 3 of my best heats to call on the mic, because the little 10s and 11s are just really going for it, especially at the point where they've got like a nice canvas for them, So I think we've got a really, really strong group of under 12s, under 13 sort of age group right now. And it's going to be interesting to see if there's a couple of newer ones stepping into those roles this year. I mean, for me, the junior events are still my favorite. I love hanging out with the Groms and just the energy. And I mean, when I started doing the Pro Juniors, Wok was actually my partner on the mic when he decided to wake up.
I remember that. Yeah. Billabong putting me to work heavy.
God forbid you have to work.
Oh my! All right, we're not ordering for a serve.
Yeah, you guys need to go.
Yeah, Barker.
Look, thanks so much for being on the podcast, Trav. Any last words for people in lockdown?
Don't panic. I truly believe that it's not as bad as everyone thinks it is.
Wok, any last words of advice?
Nah, not much. It's good to see everybody. It's like, nice to chat to you, everyone. Trav, George.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Good
This was actually
good to see you guys.
long overdue, and I was stoked we did it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm stoked you guys did too. And then
let's go on a boat trip.
We need to.
That would be amazing.
We need to.
Oh.
I want to get a macaroni. Let's get a macaroni. That'd be a sick trip.
Well, what wants to go left?
I want to go left, yeah.
If you guys put together a boat trip and I crack the nut, I'm there for sure. Thanks so much for being on the podcast. It's been great seeing you guys. And we hope when things do get going again that we see Trav having success as the commissioner, and Jordy, of course, as always, we're all in your corner, bro. We want to see you get that world title.